We begin our look at sports on the gridiron, where the NFL's divisional round took center stage last weekend. The Atlanta Falcons lived up to the hype and topped the Seattle Seahawks 36-20 in Saturday's early game. The New England Patriots followed and lived up to the large spread in taking down the Houston Texans 34-16. Sunday's games, though, they were the best of the weekend. Dallas and Green Bay battled to the final seconds, where the Packers prevailed on a day for underdogs 34-31. A last-second field goal propelled Green Bay and its win streak into the NFC Championship against Atlanta. That's 8 straight victories for Green Bay. The other AFC playoff game was moved to late due to poor weather conditions in Kansas City. The Pittsburgh Steelers needed to hold off a last-ditch threat by the Chiefs to advance to see New England in the AFC Championship this coming Sunday. Underdog Pittsburgh won 18-16 amid some controversial calls by the refs, including a holding call that appeared to tie the game with a successful 2-point conversion for KC in the final minutes. The holding was called against left tackle Eric Fisher and nullified the score. The Patriots defeated Pittsburgh 27-16 during the season, but Pitt was without starting QB Ben Roethlisberger. He was injured and did not play. Steelers wideout Antonio Brown posted a locker room video of head coach Mike Tomlin calling out the Patriots. Tomlin called Brown's live video foolish and inconsiderate. Ironically, Tomlin asked the players to go low profile in his speech. Brown will likely be fined by the NFL and reprimanded internally by the Steelers. New England-Pittsburgh should be a goodie. That game gets underway at 6:40 p.m. on Sunday in Foxborough. I'll take New England. Tough call with Green Bay. They did what I expected the Giants to do if they had beaten the Packers, and that's beat the Cowboys. Both Green Bay and Atlanta's defense are not great. Expect a shootout there. I think it's fair that perhaps we have slept on Matt Ryan and the Falcons all season. Ryan is probably the NFL's most valuable player. The Falcons were 11-5 and made a statement against Seattle after earning the bye. Despite the hot streak, I'll take the Falcons and Matty Ice in the title game. But I wouldn't be all that surprised if Pittsburgh and Green Bay win on the road in either game, or if Green Bay extends its win streak in Atlanta. The playoffs have shown, as perhaps they do every year, all bets are off when it comes to predictions. Expect the unexpected. Nonetheless, I think Matt Ryan going head-to-head with Tom Brady would be a great story and make for a great Super Bowl. Ryan and Brady's numbers are so similar this year, but since Brady served a 4-game suspension, he probably comes up short in the MVP voting to Ryan. That would make for a pretty cool storyline in the Super Bowl. The most impressive performance of the NFL playoffs belongs to the betting public, which jumped from favorites to underdogs at the right time last weekend. In the process, they squashed multiple Las Vegas sportsbooks. William Hill reported suffering the worst day of the company's 5-year history in Nevada. And how about the story of two friends, Brian Yanklowitz and Russ Axelrod, who decided to pick an NFL team that needed to win out to make the playoffs. They placed an initial $300 bet on the Green Bay Packers and have stuck with them ever since. 8-game winning streak later, and that initial $300 is now worth $28,213.60. The duo is sticking with the original plan and has already put all of their money on Green Bay to beat Atlanta. If the Pack beat the Falcons, they'll have $76,176.70 to put down on the Super Bowl for Green Bay to beat either New England or Pittsburgh. Now that's a cool story. Time for some quick hitters. Former two-sport great Bo Jackson admitted last week that if he could do it all over again, he wouldn't play football. Jackson remains the only player in history to be named an MLB All-Star and an NFL Pro Bowler, but a hip injury on the gridiron derailed his career. This week, Jackson said head hits to Carolina quarterback Cam Newton, a fellow Auburn Heisman winner, who he views as a son, scare the hell out of him. Bo knows that pro football now includes CTE and other health risks from concussions. There should be plenty of head hits in Brooklyn on February 11th when the UFC returns to New York. The card for the evening has added another headline bout. Former middleweight champion and all-time great Anderson Silva will face Derek Brunson at the Barclays Center. UFC President Dana White announced Silva's return via social media last Friday. Silva hasn't fought since a 3-round decision to current champion Daniel Cormier at UFC 200 on July 9th. The fight was contested at 205 pounds, and Silva accepted it on 2 days' notice after John Jones was pulled from the event because of a doping violation. An inaugural female featherweight championship fight between Holly Holm and Jermaine De Randami is scheduled to headline UFC 208. Speaking of headliners, former baseball great Alex Rodriguez will host a CNBC reality television show featuring retired athletes who face financial troubles. The show's working title is Back in the Game. It will be co-produced by another former New York sports star and Giants great Michael Strahan. Seems like A-Rod is adjusting just fine to life after baseball. Strahan has done the same since exiting from the NFL. Those are the headlines. We hit the C-list to pay tribute to two great men that were remembered this week around the country and in the sports world too. Monday was Martin Luther King Day, an observed holiday for his birthday, which is actually January 15th, but is always honored on the third Monday of January. The late Martin Luther King is best known for his role in the advancement of civil rights using nonviolent civil disobedience based on his Christian beliefs. He was not only celebrated throughout the country Monday, but also around the sports world. His legacy was celebrated on social media by sports stars and honored during games. It's become a big part of the NBA's tradition. Two of my favorite MLK quotes are these. Darkness can't drive out darkness, only light can do that. Hate can't drive out hate, only love can do that. King also famously said, if you cannot fly, then run. If you cannot run, then walk. If you cannot walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, keep moving. I decided to dedicate this C-list last week to the now late great Stephen McDonald. I wanted to present it to you this week during a week in which we honored the memory of Martin Luther King. I think it's fitting. Detective McDonald was shot and paralyzed on July 12, 1986. He spent the rest of his life as a quadriplegic, but it's what he did after that terrible accident that defines him. His message of forgiveness, love, and hope, like that of Dr. King, is what endures. McDonald, a lifelong New York Rangers fan who was paralyzed by a gunshot wound while on patrol in Central Park in 1986, died of a heart attack on January 10th. He was 59. The Rangers have an award named after him in his honor. It's called the Stephen McDonald Extra Effort Award. Detective McDonald taught us that we can forgive. He not only counseled his assailant, Shavon Jones, but seriously considered taking him in to live in his own home on Long Island after his release from prison. Jones died shortly after his release. McDonald mourned his passing as he would the death of a friend. Although each day was a Herculean struggle for the detective, he used it as a fresh opportunity to take to the streets, schools, precincts, hospitals, and prayer groups. I'm happy that message of hope, forgiveness, and reconciliation is on display every year on MLK Day, and often by the New York Rangers, who keep Stephen's memory alive and well. It's these messages that should be on display daily, holiday or not, at games across the country or anywhere. Thank you, Dr. King. Thank you, Detective McDonald. Whatever you do, keep moving forward. That's your sports. I'm Bobby C.